All right, well, we're going to get started, if that's okay. I think we have some people that will be coming in and out throughout today's hour together. So we're going to be a little bit fluid with the agenda as we go. I'm going to try, and keep it moving. But again, there's a couple representatives or senators that are going to step in and step out based on some hearings and things like that that they have going on. So we'll just have to be a little bit fluid if you guys are okay with that. I'm Aubrey from the American Childhood Cancer Organization. And we're really honored that you're with us today on behalf of childhood cancer. We're so thankful. We've got amazing advocates on the line. We have amazing proactive legislators on the line as well. And later this hour, we will have Tara from the governor's office as well. So really thankful that all of you guys can take time out of your super busy schedules to be here to share on behalf of childhood cancer in the state of Pennsylvania. My counterpart, Jamie, is on the phone. She's Director of Government Affairs for the American Childhood Cancer Organization, and she's actually on her way to the state capitol in Kentucky, where they've really been one of the leading states in the country in terms of pediatric cancer. We're gathered really here because there is the disparity between the federal pediatric cancer research funding and between childhood cancers and adult cancers, where the majority of the funding at the federal level goes to adult cancers. So, what about the kids? Why not the kids? So it really leaves it to the states to bridge that gap in terms of pediatric cancer research funding. Pennsylvania has amazing research institutions for childhood cancer. So we're here today to see if we can get more funding to these institutions to be able to make a difference for more survivors of childhood cancer, less toxic treatments for childhood cancer, because as we know, okay, great, you survive, which not everybody gets to do, but the toxicity of treatments that these kids have leads to a life of many different side effects that they have to deal with. And a quarter of those survivors end up with life-threatening secondary side effects. So it's really have a lot of work to do. And I think Pennsylvania has been amazing supporting this so far, but we've got more work we can do together. And we're really excited that Pennsylvania is going to lead the way on this. So I'm just going to jump to Jamie real quick. She's on the phone again. Jamie, if you wanted to add anything before we go into our lineup of wonderful speakers today.
Thank you, Aubrey. Just thank you so much for everyone joining us. We really appreciate your time. As Aubrey said, I've been working in Kentucky really since my son was diagnosed in 2014. I was a lobbyist working both at the federal level and at the state level. I've worked for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in Washington, D.C., and Kentucky Governor Ernie Fletcher here in Kentucky. And so when my son was diagnosed, it was this aha moment of not only is childhood cancer the #1 cause of death by disease, but we had never, ever appropriated any money specifically for childhood cancer. And so I saw that opportunity, and now we are building that out, what we've done in Kentucky as a model all across the country. We're now working in 16 states to prioritizing with support from Amazon in 7 states, including Pennsylvania. So what we're doing, I think, is super important, as Aubrey said, not only with the research, but psychosocial standards of care and long-term survivorship. In Kentucky in 2015, we passed our first legislation creating a collaborative Kentucky Pediatric Cancer Research Trust Fund that incentivizes collaboration and really eliminates silos. It's a competitive grant application process, and we are currently funding 16 different research projects that are reflective of Kentucky incidence and epidemiology. Specifically with Dr. Resnick there from CHOP, we are working on figuring out why there's an 87% higher incidence of pediatric brain tumors in a 40-county area. So I think that really just underscores the importance of what we're doing, what we're looking at the state level, and just thank you all so much for your attention to this.
Thank you, Jamie. One thing I failed to mention is Jamie and I are actually both also pediatric cancer moms. So both of us are mothers to survivors. So, and we know how fortunate we are. Not everyone can say that. So we are propelled forward to help pay it forward for others on behalf of this cause, because we know, we are extremely fortunate that we have our warriors with us today. So that's, why we're on this mission. So thank you again all for being here. I'm actually going to turn it over to Senator Martin now to speak, if that's okay.
Morning, everybody. It's great to be here and great to see so many wonderful people and allies in this cause. I was really proud of the work over the last few years done by the General Assembly and signed by the governor, and of course advocated for by so many of you all that are here today. When we were able to get the pediatric cancer checkoff box done for the online renewal for vehicle registrations. I know my staff's trying to get updated numbers from PennDOT, but I know in the first year and a half, it generated about $1.5 million. We fully expect that to be up into the twos by this time. We followed that up in the following year with working on a different dynamic in terms of telepresence and the ability for kids who are going through treatment to be able to stay connected with their peers and their friends and their classrooms. It's another bill that Harrisburg in bipartisan fashion was able to rally around and get done. And of course, last year, prior to COVID, we had big momentum going behind Senate Bill 74 and trying to develop that $100 million pediatric cancer tax credit over 10 years. I was super proud of not only the effort of all of you, but my colleagues in the Senate, from Senator Scott Hutchinson to Senator Pat Brown of Approbes to the entire chamber, when we were able to unanimously pass that and get it over to the House. Unfortunately, the bill did not move. We then entered into the world of COVID and everything, and so much of the focus was on COVID. But I'm happy to say, as of last week, many of you gathered when we reintroduced the bill. And then Senator Scott Hutchinson, who is the chair of finance, just was amazing in his first meeting of the year in the finance committee, advancing it. It passed out of committee last Wednesday unanimously. And I'm truly hopeful that when we get back here in mid-April, that we can get this bill advancing on the Senate calendar through appropriations and over to the House. We all know, and after listening to Aubrey talking about why we're doing all this, we know the whys, but we also need everyone to come together and do their best when we're facing obstacles to get this across the goal line. We're looking at a couple different avenues in the House of Representatives, maybe an alternative committee from last year. Not 100% sure of that yet. We're trying to get a good feel. I know last week after the bill passed out of finance, some of our Mamas Against Cancer and others who came to the chamber, to the gallery that day, actually went around and started meeting with members right away and really setting the table to potentially getting this bill done. From what I hear, and I know last time the governor's office was supportive of our efforts too. So now we just got to get it onto his desk. And I know with the help of all of you that we can get this done. And I'm a huge believer in momentum. And if we can get this done in Pennsylvania and establish this model, we can really turn the page in terms of making sure that pediatric cancer research and the dollars that go to it are a priority in this country. And we're well past time to be there, but hopefully we can put this across the goal line and show everyone how important it is to all of us. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Senator Martin. And it's been amazing having your support and pushing through on SB 74 and having you with us on this journey. So thank you so much for that. We're now going to shift over to Representative Kozłowski. And if I said that wrong, I really, really apologize, but I've been really trying to practice it. So we're honored to have you. I know you've got quite the journey on this topic, so we're honored to have you with us today. Thank you.
Good morning. You did very well. It's Kozłowski. So I'm very impressed. I went from Bridget Malloy, this really Irish name, to Kozłowski. So you did very well. I'm impressed. Thank you for practicing. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bridget, and I am a state representative in the 114th district up here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm really happy to be here today. I've been a representative for about 18 months now. And my journey kind of goes along with being a mother of a pediatric cancer survivor. I'm a mom of 4 children. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 26 years. I trained at Villanova in nursing school and worked at University of Pennsylvania Hospital for 15 years, and then moved back home where I was raised up here outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania. When I came back home, my oldest was 4. I had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And Jake had swollen glands, very, very hard, palpable swollen glands. Took him to the pediatrician. She immediately knew on arrival that he had, she said, I think he has leukemia. And we did the blood tests, and it was about 2:00 in the afternoon in 2005, November. And we arrived at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia at about 2:00 in the morning. And I'll never forget going through a building that had a wall that said pediatric oncology ward. And I thought that there should be no pediatric oncology. Children shouldn't have cancer. And I remember thinking, we got to fix this. So thankfully, Jacob at age 4 was diagnosed with T-cell ALL, a little bit smarter of the leukemias, a little bit trickier to treat. He had some T-cell blasts in his cerebrospinal fluid, which required radiation, chemotherapy. Boys get a little bit longer treatment than girls who are diagnosed with leukemia, but all I remember is leukemia is treatable and it's curable, and it's treatable and curable because of one thing: research. Research is the reason that we are able today to have such a high percentage of kids that are diagnosed with leukemia be survivors. Jake did fantastic, portacath, spinal taps, cranial radiation, chemotherapy. But fast forward to January 2020, he's a senior at Scranton Prep. He's playing basketball. He's on the golf team. Headaches, couldn't really hear out of his right ear, some vision stuff. So I remember when I signed the consent for the radiation, I remember the doctor saying to me, there is a small chance 16, 17 years later, he could have a brain tumor, but we got to treat this now. This is our treatment. So I signed the consent. And when he told me those symptoms, I thought, son of a bee, I knew it. Went to have the CT scan. I got the call from the radiologist, who's a friend of mine, and said, Jacob's got a tumor. He's got a pretty significant sized meningioma. Thankfully, we went back to HUP. Now he's an adult. I went down to HUP to a neurosurgeon named Dr. Grady. Jacob had a massive meningioma, a benign tumor, thank God, treatable. He had a craniotomy. He had the tumor removed, but because the tumor had a meningioma grows very slowly, but then it starts to really kind of get bigger and bigger. It sat on his optic nerve for quite a bit of time, and now he is blind in his left eye. But he's here and he's with me, and he's again a survivor. But going back to what Aubrey said, we treat the cancer, but we're trying to tweak the side effects. And some of these kids, leukemia children especially, they died in the 70s. We knew how to treat the cancer, but we didn't know how to take care of the child at the same time. So again, going back to what Senator Martin said, it's the research, money for research, money so that we can continue to make sure these kids not only survive cancer, but they're not left with some life-altering side effects. So I took that knowledge and took that experience that I had as a nurse 20 years ago, and I always wanted to do something with research and insurance. Jacob is a very fortunate little boy. I'm a nurse. My husband is an attorney. We had really good health insurance, but we were slammed with unbelievable bills because I was out of network. I was down at CHOP. I did not have medical assistance. I didn't understand that was something I was probably going to have to get because I was out of network, only getting, I was being, 20% of his bills. Radiation. I got a bill from CHOP for $135,000 for my 6-week stay, for his spinal taps, for his portacath, that's beyond something that anybody, if I can't handle it, and my husband, I can't imagine having to make decisions on cancer treatment and not having, the insurance to be able to do it. So we're really fortunate here in Pennsylvania that we do have options for people that do not have insurance. We have CHIP program, and we've got medical assistance for people that are not able, because that's something that's mind-boggling to have to be able to make decisions about your little one who's now having to have chemotherapy, radiation, and having insurance issues. So research, and I'm looking at Dr. Resnick. He's those kind of docs. I knew my doctors, I knew my oncologists, I knew my surgeons, I knew the nurses, but the research guys, they are down in the basement somewhere or some other wing of the hospital. We don't get to see them, but I am eternally grateful for research, because it's the research that I was able to be told, this is what Jake has, this is his chemotherapy, this is the daunorubicin, this is the methotrexate, they had it all tweaked enough that they were able to kick his cancer out of his body, but be able to make sure that Jake had a normal life. He was only 4 years old, He's barely lucky. Unfortunately, we had a little hiccup, 18 years later, he had the tumor. But again, we were able to treat it. He's on the road to recovery. He's a freshman in college. We're really, really, really fortunate, but I am eternally grateful for research. I don't know if Representative Ryan Bizzaro is on this call, but
he's going to be popping in at 10:30. He's in another thing. He's going to pop in at 10:30, but he will be here to speak.
Okay, because Ryan, I look at Ryan had leukemia when he was a little boy, and it's because of kids like Ryan that the research was done on him, and he did not have a good prognosis. He did not. His parents thought he was going to die because the kind of cancer he had and the treatment, he's a miracle, but it's because of the research we did with kids like Ryan is why my son Jake is where he is today. I don't want kids to have those side effects though. Like I said, Jake's is legally blind now in his left eye, but he still can golf. He can still, go to school. He's a really fortunate kid, and hopefully Jake will play it forward for other children and be a resource for other kids to see that, here he is, and he's with us today because of research and good people like hopefully ourselves that'll continue to advocate for kids. So I'm happy to be here. I'm kind of in this role now that I'm in as a state legislator to hopefully be able to advocate and do things like help pass Senate Bill 74. I have to and support those things because they're important to all of us. So I'm happy that I'll be able to be on this call and listen to the rest of your stories, and hopefully we'll all be able to work together. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative, and thank you for sharing your story and how compelling it is and why we need more of this research. So thank you for that. We're honored to have you here. I'm going to jump over to Matt and Sandy McHugh now from Jake's Dragon Foundation for them to share their story on their journey with childhood cancer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Matt McHugh. This is my wife, Sandy McHugh. We are Jake's parents, and I just heard the name Jake and Jacob a lot. Our Jake was just Jake. We just named him Jake. It wasn't Jake, it was just Jake because he was unique. We are actually calling from Clyde Park, Montana. We're on vacation here, so it's super sunny, so you can't see the mountains in the background, but it's absolutely beautiful out here. We're taking a short vacation for a weekend. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all the legislatures on this call, and especially all the ones that we've spoken with over the past couple of years. We really appreciate your time and attention to childhood cancer funding, childhood cancer research funding. Thank you to Aubrey and Jamie, the American Childhood Cancer Organization, for leading the fight. Thank you to the parents that I see on the call here, Sarah, Natalie, Jen. If I miss you, I apologize, but I appreciate we're in the fight and we're all in it together. Our story is that we started the journey on August 11th, 2017. Jake was our youngest son. He was having some shoulder pain, and after a couple of doctor visits, we were told, get to the hospital immediately. We had a choice between CHOP and DuPont. Jake had already been treated at DuPont, so we went down to DuPont, down in Delaware. Our life changed in that moment. Jake was diagnosed with peripheral T-cell lymphoma, tumor that was in his chest, and it was starting to crush his windpipe. It took about 2 weeks to actually diagnose what he had. Treatment options were limited because we, quite frankly, didn't have the research to fall back on his specific type of cancer. We were told we have adult treatments that we can tailor for Jake. Now, remember, Jake was 13. He was a small 13, very small 13, actually. He was on human growth hormone because of his size. He also had a mild autism ADHD diagnosis. And then when you talk about, I know the representative was just talking about healthcare, Jake actually had MA from his autism diagnosis, and that was an absolute lifesaver for our family for insurance. So that was, you know, that was absolutely a lifesaver. When Jake was diagnosed, he had 6 chemotherapy sessions. So started in August. He went through six different chemotherapy sessions, adult medicines. We signed all the paperwork saying that there's most likely going to be later issues in his life. We signed all that paperwork because we said we needed him treated right now. After Christmas rolled around, this tumor was shrinking considerably. We had a bone marrow transplant scheduled. And in that time, when we were waiting to go back in for the bone marrow transplant, we had an MRI. And in that MRI, it showed that the tumor was back, it was in his chest, and it was growing. 4 weeks later, after, the only thing I can describe is absolute horror for the things that went on with Jake. Not by the doctors, not by the hospital, just what cancer did to him. He passed away on February 9th, 2018. My question is, why did our doctors have to guess what treatment to use? Why does only 4% of the NIH funding for cancer go to children? Why do foundations like ours? We founded Jake's Dragon Foundation for Jake. Jake was unique. He loved dragons. He thought the dragons protected him. We still go to Valley Forge Park and walk through and see where he used to have his dragon fights. We actually hiked the park about a week ago there. The Queen Dragon always won. Why do foundations like ours have to have races and push-up challenges? And I'm looking at you, Senator Martin, on the push-up challenge. Beef and beers, and use those funds not only to help the families get through it, but then also fund the actual research. We're a small foundation and we're putting everything that we can do. Our friends that are here behind us, you can't see because of the sun, but they're here behind us. You know, they support us all the way, but all that money goes towards helping families and then also providing life-saving research. We want everyone on this call to join together and pass Senate Bill 74, provide the needed funds for the amazing pediatric oncologists. Our oncologists were absolutely amazing. Our doctors are only good as the resources that they have at their fingertips. We want you all to understand that we never want another family to only be able to hold a photo of their child thinking, what else? I don't know if you can see Jake. Let me get it out of the, hold a photo of their child thinking, what else could we as a society do to end childhood cancer? We appreciate everybody's attention. We hope that everybody will join us in passing Senate Bill 74 and keep going to end childhood cancer. Jake was the most amazing, unique spirit. He should be here. Help us give the other children that are in this fight a fighting chance. Jake's Dragon Foundation is founded in our son Jake's name. We spent our whole life fighting for him. Sandy was his biggest advocate. She advocated him from day one, from the day he's diagnosed. She got him into the most perfect schools. She got him into the most perfect doctors. We will fight for your families. We will continue to fight for your families. We've vowed to spend the rest of our lives fighting for your children, your grandchildren, your nephews, your nieces, your friends, because no one should ever hear the words, your child has cancer. We ask you to pledge your support to Senate Bill 74, and it's time. The children are waiting. We appreciate everybody's time on this call, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt and Sandy. I know it's not easy to share that, but we're thankful for the efforts you guys put in every day on behalf of this cause. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to move over now to Dr. Resnick from CHOP. He's on here. We're going to speak a little bit more about research and then go back into other legislators. So if Dr. Resnick is here, I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thanks so much for all of you being here. And as was mentioned, you know, so much of the research that we do at CHOP and elsewhere is funded by those 5Ks that you all run. At CHOP, it's actually a little bit true, the representative's characterization, that the research oftentimes does occur in basements and enclaves that are separate from, you know, the hubbub of the clinical care. I work with Dr. Grady closely on many of the efforts, but we also work with many other institutions. And I think this is partly what's really unique about the pediatric context is in order to advance discovery, you have to drive networks of collaborations and flow of information. So it's very different than the adult context where each institution might have its own large enough program with large enough number of cases to drive discovery. Pediatric cancer is the leading cause of disease-related death in children, but we need to collaborate with not just other hospitals in the state, but across the nation. And that's actually partly why I'm here. As was mentioned, it was a little while ago that some researchers from the state of Kentucky reached out and said, we hear that you have been running a consortium across 20 institutions, collecting specimens for over 10 years and generating new data on initially brain tumors. And in Kentucky, they had already been moving forward with trying to understand why Kentucky had higher incidence of certain cancers, especially brain tumors in certain parts of the state. To my surprise, at the time, it turns out that when they showed me their data, it was new to me. And this is the informational gap that sort of permeates pediatric cancer. But it was new to me that Pennsylvania, if you look from 2006 to 2015, was #2 in the country in the incidence of pediatric brain tumors. So people don't actually know that, one, we don't know why pediatric cancer happened. It's not because kids smoke or out in the sun or eat poorly. It's none of the reasons that drive most of adult contact. But people don't understand that there's not uniformity across pediatric cancer in the nation. And this is where I think there are distinct opportunities for states to really recognize opportunities for leadership in driving research and how that connects to the clinical implementation locally. And I think that's the part that's really exciting, is that the kind of work that we've done with the state of Kentucky creates new resources that bring that informational knowledge from those basements right in proximity to what happens in the laboratory, and then clinical care and clinical trials. Leukemia is a phenomenal example of the dramatic change of therapy that has occurred. But we have many types of cancers, especially in brain tumors, where we have no standard of care, and a diagnosis is still a death sentence for many, many families. But the technology has transformed what we can understand about biology. The previous speaker just mentioned, that his question was, why didn't we know what to do? And that's what's really changed since I was in graduate school, in the early 2000s, is now we actually have genomic sequencing. We can understand the parts list of biology. So it's a matter of figuring out what's wrong and then developing cures. And you can see this in COVID. COVID really, if you look at how the science and the clinical impact went hand in hand in COVID, it's almost a model for what we should have for pediatric cancer, right? Mounting large-scale effort of rapid exchange of information so commercial entities can engage it, that therapeutic development around vaccines can happen across multiple different contexts, where then you have this collaboration between the federal resources and state resources for the implementation of distribution of access to those vaccines. That's a model for pediatric cancers, and just as much a mandate, if not more, I would say, for our community. And so what you're seeing really is a unique opportunity in time to transform how science is done through investment in research and infrastructure that's no longer really as distant as it used to be, meaning basements and clinics. Right now, we can transform that information to real-time impact into understanding the biology of individual patients. The key is to invest in that such that we can then drive rapid responses in partnership with commercial entities and be data-driven about the impact that bridges that informational gap in the biological context. When I was first training, for us, it was just really trying to understand, how biology works. Now it's a matter of trying to understand what's broken in specific patients and how we can mount, specific therapeutics for them so that the approach doesn't harm the rest of their body. And so those two challenges go hand in hand. What are new therapies to target the specific alteration, a specific cancer, and how can we make sure that it's specific enough so it doesn't target every other cell? And that's one thing, again, that's unique in pediatrics. I always tell patients and families that the challenge, for example, is that when you're targeting non-selectively rapidly dividing cells, kids themselves are entirely rapidly dividing beings, right? And so that's really the unmet and unique need that has to come at hand. And so really the kind of collaborations we've been forming with Kentucky and across the nation, centering out of CHOP, are all about this rapid flow of information, coordinated access to that information to any scientist at any time as rapidly as possible, in order to bridge that gap on behalf of clinicians so they can make the proper decisions and that they can drive new partnerships with commercial entities, pharma and other stakeholders to develop new therapies. It's a new model of research. It's not bounded by CHOP's walls or any other institutions. It's about rapid dissemination of information on behalf of change of the status quo. And it takes really the utmost vigilance of our community on the research side and on the clinical side to have stakeholder partnerships with people like you. You are essentially the driver of the mandate, of the saliency for that rapid informational prioritization that has to happen. Time is the variable that we have to optimize against. That time is the variable we cannot control in the context of disease states. So everything has to be geared towards shortening time to discovery, to implementation, to care. And anytime you're faced with a decision where time is not the prioritization factor, you're making the wrong decision on behalf of constituents or patients or families. So I'm thrilled to be your partner in this effort, and I'm always open, myself and all of the colleagues that we work with across the nation, to learn more about what we can do better and look for opportunities together to drive impact and change in this context.
Thank you so much, Dr. Resnick. We appreciate having you here and the work that you do on behalf of kids with cancer. So thank you. Matt, yes, you wanted to did you want to add?
Danny has a question for Dr. Resnick or
I have
comment.
a question. Just to that end, Dr. Resnick, that was our situation. Jake's tumor was sent to Sloan Kettering for some genetic sequencing, but it was like too little too late. We didn't get the results back till May. He passed in February. And what we found out was that there actually was a potential treatment for another type of cancer, a sarcoma that may have worked on his lymphoma. Our doctors actually wrote a paper on it so that down the line, the next kid that comes along, hopefully they can access that. But again, like our doctors are only as good as the information that they have in that given moment to make a decision. And information needs to come more rapidly. Our doctors need these things at their fingertips. We were encouraged when we were told so many times that the pediatric cancer ward was very small and doctors talk. Our doctors at DuPont worked closely with the doctors at CHOP and doctors all around the country. But again, like we need the resources, we need that information, and we need it quickly. We need it. Why did that genetic sequencing take so long to get done and get to us? They took that in the beginning of January and May till we got a result, and it was just too little too late. So thank you for bringing that point up.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is a really unique opportunity for transformation is this model that you just described. And technology has improved such that in some clinical trials, we've been piloting, really generating that type of molecular profile in less than a week, and then returning it back to patients and clinicians. It does take infrastructure. It takes resources to do that. I'm surprised you were even able to do what you did. Currently, so many patients don't even have that as a baseline. But information is the sword we have to start with in this battle. And you have to generate as much as you can when you don't know what's taking place as rapidly as possible. And to your point, connect as many knowledge holders to that space. I've been in so many conversations when a brain tumor researcher may not know about a leukemia finding, or a leukemia researcher may not know about another rare birth defects that just by chance have the same biological mechanisms that has to be connected. So connection of information and connecting people around a question is a key component and a key unique opportunity to accelerate the process. Like you said, time is the variable that we need to optimize for.
Absolutely.
No, thank you. So we have lots of work to get done together. I'm gonna see, is Representative Bizzarro on? Oh, yes, he is. So we're gonna turn it over to him now. Thank you for stepping out of your hearing today to join us today. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me. Look, I appreciate us being able to get together and have these conversations about what we're going to do moving forward to help patients with cancer in Pennsylvania. I don't know what all was discussed or what kind of icebreaker everyone did, but again, I appreciate having the opportunity to be here. I myself am a cancer survivor. I had ALL leukemia when I was almost 2. Back then, it was essentially a death sentence. I mean, in Erie, they told my parents, who happened to be 19 and 20 when they had me, the only thing they could do was keep me comfortable till I died. My mom refused to accept that, and consequently, I got my treatment and went through an experiment trial in Buffalo, New York, at the Roswell Cancer Institute, where I still go back every day, or every year. I'm sorry, every year for that checkup. I'm the lone person left in that survivor in that clinical trial. So I'm happy to be part of hopefully what is going to be a solution moving forward where we can actually find a cure for this.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's remarkable and amazing that you're a survivor and can speak on behalf of this cause. So thank you so much for that, because as we know, not everyone survives, unfortunately, and then the long-term side effects and the long-term care that comes with it, even after your hair grows back from treatment. And there's so much more that goes on after the treatment. So we have a lot of work to do to help these kids in Pennsylvania and beyond in terms of better research and better treatment. So thank you so much for your time today and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're actually now going to go over to Senator Kane to speak with him if he is on. Let me just triple check. I don't have everything on my screen. Oh,
I'm
he's
here.
Thank you, Senator Kane. So we're going to jump to you for a moment.
Thank you, Aubrey. And unfortunately, I missed the first, 15 minutes. I actually was in another meeting and I bailed out of there to get onto this call. And it's interesting that I'm on this call because today I have to go in for my MRI. I am a cancer survivor, as Representative Bizzarro. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2015. It actually was Cinco de Mayo 2015. Was a nasal pharynx carcinoma, which was a fairly rare cancer. And it was inoperable. And the only treatment that I was able to get at the time was just radiation and chemo. Cisplatin was the chemo that they gave me. So you're looking at a guy that was 235 pounds. And right now I'm about 170, living with side effects of no saliva glands and I lost my hearing in my right ear, but I'm still here today. And when we look at, children that have cancer, I lived a good full life. And these young children don't have that opportunity, or they may not have that opportunity. So I just want to let you know that I am a cancer survivor. I support Senate Bill 74, anything to do with research and anything to help and funding for child's cancer. I'm there for you, and you can count on me on that. So thank you for allowing me to be on here today to share a little bit of my story.
Thank you so much, Senator King. We appreciate your support on this cause and on this bill. So thank you so much for that. I'm now going to turn it over to Representative Cerisi, who is actually, I believe, one of the representatives actually for Matt and Sandy as well. So special connection there. But thank you, Representative Cerisi, for speaking today also.
No, thank you for the opportunity to be on this call. I don't actually represent Matt and Sandy, but I've known them, I guess, close to 15 years. Our sons played ball together, and I watched their son grow up, Jake. And I remember sitting in the bleachers. We would be at the games. He'd be playing with the little cars, running around the gym. So I have a connection to the family. And being a parent, for all of you parents who are going through this, I want to say that I'm sorry that any of you have to go through this and your children. Bridget brought up about CHOP, and our son had an issue that we had to go back and forth to CHOP. It wasn't cancer, thank God, but he ended up having surgery there. And I remember seeing the parents and the children as we walked in and thinking how blessed we were. even though he had an issue, it was nothing to that caliber. And I believe that as representatives, we have an obligation to make sure that nobody, no child goes through this again. No family goes through this heartache. And I'll do whatever I can. And I said this to Matt and Sandy, use me anywhere you can. Being a friend of theirs and knowing what they went through in that time, knowing their family and their commitment to their 3 children and our community, whatever you need. And I'd be honored to be on that bill as a co-sponsor in the House. I think Senator Martin and I had talked about this right before COVID, and we were working with House Speaker Cutler to try and get this going, and then COVID hit. But I think that, through my colleague you heard from Bridget and Ryan and our friend John Kane, this is definitely something that we should be able to do. And having CHOP in our community is probably one of the biggest blessings that we have, to have such a great hospital within where I live, from where Matt and Sandy and I all live, about 30 miles from where we live, and to be able to support CHOP, and now CHOP King of Prussia, which will be even closer to all of us. So whatever we need to do, I'm on board. And again, thank you for the opportunity. I can't say enough how heartfelt this is for all of you who are here and being able to share your story. And to my friends who are out in Montana, who I hope they enjoy while they're out there, we're here for you and whatever you need. Jake was a great kid. I'll tell you that straight up. I have a lot of memories of him. He sat through those hours of basketball and baseball like the rest of us did, like a trooper, while his older brother played, and then his sister played softball. So that kid was everywhere, and a wonderful child and great parents. So thank you.
Thank you
Joe.
so much. Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, thank you so much for that. An honor that you support this cause, and that everybody's here. I have a couple Pennsylvania facts, and then we're going to go over to one more scheduled speaker, and then we have some open time. But Pennsylvania currently, based on a CDC report from June 2018, is currently showing 6th in the nation in terms of overall pediatric cancer incidence rates. And actually right now, no county in Pennsylvania is showing a decrease in incidence of pediatric cancer. All of the counties in Pennsylvania are showing an increase based on the latest reports. So, again, just underscoring the importance of the work that we're here, talking about getting done in Pennsylvania, because just to underscore that. I was actually going to turn it over, and I just need to check if Tara Piovich from the governor's office is on yet. I know she's coming in the last 15 minutes of the meeting. I just want to see if she is here yet by any chance. I'm going to go with no. All right, so we'll wait a few moments for her, because she will be joining us, to speak on behalf of the governor's office. Did I miss anyone that wanted to speak thus far? Representative Gatos, yay! We will have you, which is an honor because you are representing also the Cancer Caucus. So thank you for being here.
Oh, no, thank you. This is a terrific forum. And to the McHughes, thank you for your story. And also having Representative Kozarowski tell her story and Representative Bizzarro tell his story. I think that, that's just really important for us to hear, and for our fellow members to have some people within our caucus who have had those experiences, unfortunately, but having, that voice that's within our legislature. I am the state house member from the Pittsburgh airport area. I have it's the 44th district, and I have the honor of being the new chair of the Cancer Caucus in the House after Representative Benninghoff. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody here, getting the message out to our caucus and just getting more information from groups like this to share with our caucus members. So hopefully we'll continue to work with you, and looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. No, we are honored to work with you and looking forward to working with you on more things and working with everyone on more things in the state of Pennsylvania for these kids. I'm going to see now, I'm just going to do a quick check in to see if we have Tara from the governor's office on as of yet. Do we? Not yet. Okay. Still have some time. Is there anyone else that either we missed or would like to speak, either from the legislator side or the advocate side? I know we have some, great warrior families that are here. If anyone would like to speak, please let me know. Oh, we got, I think, Sarah. Wait, I can see if I can unmute you. Oh, you got it.
We've had to switch devices a few times now. So thank you guys so much. It's my daughter, Noelle. I know we see the McHughes and all of our lovely families and Senator Hutchinson and Senator Morton and all of our amazing legislators. To Dr. Resnick, when we testified before the Senate Finance Committee in 2019, the incredible Dr. Fox from CHOP had testified that curing pediatric cancer is a must in order to cure all cancers. And I know when she testified, it was pretty powerful. We also had Dr. McGregor from Hershey. I know we have a lot of families, and we're even identifying even more under that dome who have had children or who are pediatric cancer survivors. I know I got to speak with Senator Fontana on Friday. Matt and Sandy, his granddaughter was actually treated at CHOP. They live in Delaware. So I know our goal, and to go back to the being in the basement comment, our goal for all of this legislation is so that our researchers can go back to being in the basements and doing this research instead of having to spend so much time researching grant opportunities and writing those proposals. These researchers should not have to be spending more than half of their time doing this in order to get the money to perform the research. So I know that that's been our number one goal in doing this legislation, is making sure that our researchers have every opportunity to spend their time doing exactly what they need to be doing and what they do best. Figuring out better, less toxic treatments. And yeah, going back to those basements. Noelle was actually treated at both Penn State Hershey Children's Hospital and CHOP for stage 4 Wilms tumor. And we are ridiculously blessed to have the research. Unfortunately, I'm sure everyone here knows that our kids are treated with archaic treatments because federally speaking, our kids are given 3.8% of the budget. So by doing this, I know when we started this journey, our goal was to get the legislation out to all 22 other states that have specific pediatric cancer research facilities. So that way we can all, jump in and do this together, the 23 states that have these facilities, because our federal research funding is lacking. So we're extremely excited to be back. I know we were extremely excited to be back on Wednesday when, the Capitol finally opened back up. So thank you guys so much. It's great to see everybody on, and thank you to our legislators who are supporting us in this fight, because it means the absolute world to us. Right? Mm-hmm.
Let me just say one comment about what you said, which I think sometimes is not, thrust forward, which I think, as you mentioned, Beth Fox likely narrated, which is the pediatric cancer research opportunities are not just to create equality or parity with the adult context. There actually are opportunities to innovate and create new ways of doing research that only can happen in the pediatric community. You hear a lot about precision medicine as a new form of medicine for all cancers. But precision medicine can thrive optimally in the context of the so-called where you're trying to understand each individual patient, reduce harm to them. And so oftentimes my narrative is that the opportunities to actually innovate on how cancer is researched and how it's treated, and to your point, that will create a sort of scientific and clinical revolution about in the way we treat all patients. And I think that's a fantastic opportunity. And I would just add that for those of us who are doing this, the ultimate goal is to actually no longer have a job in the basement, period. And maybe do something else entirely, if we're really successful. So, I think, to have a goal in your job, to lose your job is a pretty sort of privileged opportunity for us. And so we appreciate your support.
As I know, we have, I don't know if you guys can see my sweatshirt, we're a Thon family. And I always tell our Penn State students that they helped save my baby's life. Our goal is to protect their babies and I hate to say it this way, but put Thon out of business. We want to dance in celebration. We no longer want to hold our fellow families and remember those angels that are no longer here. In fact, this is what we have of Noelle's best friend, Kira. They were 10 when Kira passed away from cell ALL. And whatever we can do to stop this and stop this hurt. And I know Jen and I have always said that even if all of this work saves just one family, one child, one parent from ever feeling the way that we have felt, all of this is worth it. The blisters, the long days at the Capitol, and that cobblestone that I have no idea how you amazing women walk on heels through. But we do. We thank you guys so much because this means the absolute world.
No, thank you. Absolutely. I think also, Dr. Resnick, what you said, like being able to put you out of business and all of, Sarah, like you said, putting the Thon out of business. Yeah, that's the goal. And hopefully we get there and no more children have to suffer. No more children have to get their angel wings. Absolutely. Natalie, did you want to speak?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a minute to kind of touch on a few things. This is Vincent. Vincent is a CHOP patient. He has a brain tumor. He was diagnosed when he was just 4 months old, and he just turned 3 in February. His brain tumor, which is considered a rare disease, like all of these are, but he has ATRT, atypical teratoid rhabdoid tumor. And wanted to touch on the medical assistant comment. Vincent's been in treatment. He's still actively in treatment because he's relapsed twice now. His treatment, our insurance company and medical assistant has paid over $7 million in under 3 years. And if we didn't have that medical assistance, we would have been responsible for over $500,000 of that, which just is kind of touches on that point of, if we didn't have that, what would we do? And also just let you know that, like, we're, as a state, we're spending this money, for this treatment that obviously my son needed the treatment, so I'm grateful for that. But what could $7 million do for research? Instead of spending all of this money on these treatments, that a lot of it, wasn't just his treatment. He went into acute liver failure from a drug reaction that he had, which is kids get all the time. Vincent had something called VOD, which is common for transplant kids, but he didn't have that in transplant. It was outside the transplant setting. We're at CHOP, we live 15 minutes away. They had no idea what was going on. We have just, a lot of this his claims and things have been a result of paying for the side effects that have happened because of his treatment, not necessarily his actual treatment. The therapies that he continues to go through, that's all part of it. And this will be for life for Vincent. These things that he has hemiplegia, he's paralyzed on the left side of his body, all of these things that go into that treatment besides the actual chemotherapy that he received. And then Rep. Bizzarro, I just wanted to say, your mom is amazing, because I was in that same position. When Vincent was 4 months old and he was diagnosed with HRT, CHOP told us to go home. They told us to just keep him comfortable because he was 4 months old. He had 2 brain tumors. One was inoperable, and they told us that the treatment would most likely kill him. And we did not accept that either. And that is extremely difficult as a parent to be told by the world's best doctors just to take your child home and don't even try. And so to push through that, I give your mom a lot of credit, because not every nobody hears that and pushes through. A lot of people take that at face value. And miracles happen. You're one, Vincent's one. Any person, Dr. Resnick, if you saw his scans at CHOP, Dr. Kennedy takes them around with him and shows everybody, and nobody can believe that he's still alive. And one of the things with him with the research is he's currently on a targeted medication called tazemetostat that targets the gene mutation that he has, which has not been very successful for the majority of children who have taken it. But Vincent's the first child in the United States to take that medication off trial through a commercially obtained drug in pill form that's really made for adults. And that just became available in commercial form in May of 2020. He would not have been able to get on the trial. And so we had to teach him at 2 how to swallow pills so that he could have that treatment. And he's now been on that for almost 34 weeks and nobody can believe it. And I feel that, these cases and having to push and being a parent and having to advocate, I flew to Los Angeles and met with Jackie Beagle. I have gone across the country. I have gone to Sick Kids Toronto to fight for my son. And one of the things that is just so frustrating to me is the lack of data sharing. And our doctors are wonderful at CHOP, but there's a parent group on Facebook, and the information that we are able to share with each other and then take back to our teams, it's unbelievable what is not being communicated between hospitals, not because of lack of trying, but there's not a system set up for it. This is a disease that less than 60 kids a year get, and not every hospital there is no standard treatment protocol, and there's certainly no relapse protocol. And when you find out that other hospitals across the country are doing other things and you take them back to your treatment center, they've never heard of this, and opening the door for that conversation, it really is, it's hard. And I have a medical background, and so a lot of this has been easier for me to navigate and some of the connections that I have, but it's impossible for most parents to not have the ability to really take all of those different points and connect them together to just try our best and guess what we think is most theoretically or logically going to work for our child, because we're making these decisions with no information. We're going in completely blind at this point. We have, again, been very lucky. Vincent has not had any brain radiation at either. He's had 4 brain tumors. He's had 8 craniotomies. He had a stem cell transplant. He went through 16 months of intense chemotherapy. He still he's having a lumbar puncture on Thursday and getting intrathecal chemotherapy. He gets an MRI every 6 weeks because that's how aggressive this cancer is. And the money and the time and everything that is taken for us to put this plan together, we've had to do most of it on our own and connect those data points. And it's on top of everything we're dealing with. It is a whole nother level of stress to be put in that position to make these decisions blindly. And I appreciate Dr. Resnick and all the researchers that are trying to make a difference and pull this together. And, our team at CHOP and everyone we've spoken with, and Sandy and Matt, who came to our house right after Vincent was diagnosed and, helped us out and offered us support, and all of the different parents and coming together. I've really learned through this journey that the parents coming together and the resource and information we share just shows that if we could just connect all of these points, that we would make more progress. But it's very difficult to go off of anecdotal data that is hard for an oncologist to make a treatment decision on. But we know that information's out there, but scientifically and from a data standpoint, it's just not being collected.
Thank you so much, Natalie. I know it's your journey, not that any pediatric cancer journey is easy, but I know your journey has been especially not easy, and we appreciate your time speaking in support of this cause. So thank you so much for that. We do have Tara Piovich, another name I've been practicing this weekend. Hopefully I did okay. On from the governor's office. And I know we're a little bit over on time, but if you guys can stay a few more minutes, let's see. Tara, if you're here and able to speak, we'd be honored to have you on behalf of the governor's office. Thank you.
Yes, and I apologize everyone for joining so late in the conversation today, but just wanted to say thank you to the group for inviting the governor's office to be a part of this important time together. I see, many familiar names in the call today. To encourage you all to, keep up your advocacy. I shared with Aubrey before, but I'm a social worker by trade and worked in the field for quite a while before coming to policy, and a big part of my role previously was administration. To talk about social work perspective, such a difference for you all to share your stories, to be able to make that personal connection and help bring these important issues to those who are making decisions on policy. So just want to thank you all for your time and your willingness to share your personal experiences, whether it's yourself, through family members, friends, however you are connected to your mission. Just really thank you for being willing to open yourselves up and share with all of us. So thank you. I just want to encourage you all to continue your work. We certainly look to be a partner. We're excited to hear all the really great bipartisan work that has been underway. And we are very hopeful that we will see legislation come to the governor's desk, and look forward to supporting you all however we can. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are available, and we do want to be supportive. So thank you all today. I really appreciate, again, being able to join you.
Thank you so much, Tara. I know it's been everybody's schedules are so busy, but we really appreciate you representing on behalf of the governor. So thank you for that support. And with
Absolutely.
that, thank you. I know we're a little bit past our time. So thank you to everyone that's been able to join us for this on both sides of the aisle, both senators, representatives, all of the advocates and families that are on here. We're honored to have you with us. We're honored to have your time today to speak and hear things on behalf of this cause. So we are, again, very fortunate, and we are going to do our best to move it forward and have Pennsylvania lead the way in terms of getting pediatric cancer legislation and appropriations to support this cause. I think I saw a hand up. Oh, Sarah, I think I saw your hand up real quick.
I just wanted to add to what Natalie had said about the medical assistance and CHIP. I know we had in 2019 and in 2020, we had a few concerns about Senate Bill 74 being a tax credit bill, similar to the EITC stuff here in Pennsylvania. And the point that we were trying to drive home with this is our children, if you look at the amount of money that medical assistance and CHIP is spending on our children, and especially even if you take Noelle, for example, all of the times she has ended up in the hospital due to the long-term side effects from treatment. If we were to start putting all of this effort and money and funding into our researchers for better, less toxic treatments, our kids aren't going to be completely bankrupting our state when it comes to medical assistance and CHIP. I know that that's been a massive problem for, a lot, well, not a massive, but we've had pushback about it being a tax credit bill. And what we have tried explaining is our families, I'm going to say over 90% of our families end up on social welfare programs, whether it's LIHEAP or cash assistance or food stamps. All of these things that go into this, if we were developing better, less toxic treatments, our families wouldn't need to be on these. Our kids would not be draining the medical assistance and CHIP programs. And if we were to put the money into the research now, down the road, we're going to be saving ourselves probably billions of dollars in treatment. So just wanted to add that to what Natalie had said. Thank goodness for our medical assistance program, because I know a lot of our families would have gone completely belly up.
Thank you.
So,
just one note. I know we have. Sorry, go ahead.
Just real quick, and I was going to say to Senator Martin, and kind of, piggyback on that, but maybe change a little bit. I know that it's passed, it's passed committee, the bill's passed committee, and it's going to the Senate. We had a lot of reps on here, and I know that every rep I've spoken with Dozens are fully on board. And hopefully the wording of the bill has been tightened so we can move it forward there. What are the next steps? How can we get this year in this budget? The governor said, we get it to his bill, get it to his desk, and they'll sign it. I remember last time when we talked to him. So, what's kind of the next steps here? How fast can we get this going? That was for Senator Martin, because you're the man on this.
No, the next
I'm
steps.
not giving you a hard time about push-ups right now.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm healed now. I had the surgery. I'm good to go. The next steps would obviously be it's on the Senate calendar now, after coming out of committee. So it'll have to it'll be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. It'll come back to the calendar, and once it's considered 3 times, it could keep getting moved up over a period of days. Hopefully the Senate will have a final vote. It'll go to the House. Once it goes to the House, the Speaker of the House will send that bill to a particular committee. I think there's probably only 2 options potentially that could go to. And of course, then you obviously have a lot of House advocates that are here too, to get the chairman. That's what we ran into at the end of the last session. We couldn't get the chairman to run the bill. And it's a new year, it's a new time. We have a new effort, and hopefully we can get whoever the chair of whichever committee it goes to run it, and it'll go through a relatively similar process in the House that it does in the Senate. And as long as there's no changes to the bill, if it's passed, it'll go right to the governor's desk. If there's any potential changes, it would come back to the Senate for a concurrent. That's pretty much the process.
Okay, good. And then the House, Senator Representative Cerisi, as I said, he's been a friend for a while, and he's a bulldog. So we need him. If we need to put him on something, I think he dropped off, but we can. I know that he's aggressive there, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Matt,
Representatives. Go ahead.
Oops, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say we have other representatives that I think are gonna champion it as well. So go for it, Sarah.
Yes,
Sorry. And then
We
Jen.
we met with Speaker Cutler on Wednesday, along with House Majority Leader Rep Benninghoff, and they both said that they are in full support, and they're going to be speaking to those chairmen to kind of put some pressure on them. So we got confirmation of that on Wednesday when we were up. So hopefully all good things to come.
Good.
Yeah, good. Jen, sorry, you wanted to speak also as well. And I am recording this, so I will be able to provide this if anyone needs to drop off, because I know we're over time. I will be recording this to provide to everyone if you need it. Sorry, Jen, did you want to add something?
I just want to add something really quick because I know we're running over time. And to the McHughes, if you can get Representative Cerisi to also, back up Representative Benninghofer, that'll help a lot. Years after his treatment, because of all of the lifelong health effects of his treatment, she said something to me that I hadn't thought about before. She said, it's not fair to call him cured because, he may not be dealing with a cancer right now. There is a very good chance that a secondary cancer could come down the road because of all his treatment. Just dealing with all of the side effects and, how it has affected his learning. There's so many things, and it's just not fair to consider him cured even though he is still here. And I never thought of it that way before. And I think finding kinder treatments for kids is so crucial to the kind of productivity they can have as an adult, because Colin had a brain tumor. He fought it 3 times. We have been to three different states for treatment. I've met a lot of parents of kids who've had brain tumors, and because of their treatment, they are not able to work as adults. The treatment impacts them cognitively, physically. There's just so many ways. So I always say, Sarah and I started this journey, I don't know how many years ago, but we don't, it's too late for this to help our kids, but we want to help kids down the road. But I'm starting to also selfishly think that if we can come up with better treatments and have more research, that perhaps down the line, if God forbid we have a second cancer in our life because of the treatment the first time, maybe these treatments will help them. Maybe the strides that we can make now will help them. So there's nothing, I can't think of very many other things that are worth fighting this hard for. So just thank you.
Thank you, Jen, for contributing. Thank you, everyone. I know everyone on this call, I think, is passionate about this cause, especially the advocates and those that have been, specifically touched by this disease in their lives, and even those that maybe haven't been specifically touched. That being here to take your time to hear this, as well as everyone that spoke on behalf. We're very, very thankful for everyone's time today and participation today on behalf of this cause. And we hope that we can do great things in Pennsylvania. I know we could. I think Senator Martin, I think you mentioned at the beginning the energy or the momentum of it. I think there's a powerful group in Pennsylvania, I think, between legislators as well as advocates. And I do think that there's opportunity for progress this year. So if there's anything we can do at the, myself and at the American Childhood Cancer Organization to help and facilitate and support any way that we can, we absolutely will. And I think everybody here probably has my contact information. But if there's anything we can do to help, we are here to do that. And we are just very, very thankful for everyone's participation, support, and time today on behalf of this cause. So thank you, everyone, for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry we kept everybody a little bit over, but okay, good. So but thank everybody again for being here. And I'm sorry we kept everybody a little bit over, but it's a cause we're all passionate about. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Aubrey. Thanks all.
Thank you, guys. Be well, stay safe.